Joe, yesterday I said something that now sparked a debate. Even though that we're a college football show, now I guess we got to talk about Caleb Williams because, ironically, I said that he was a bust. I will give you the floor as a guy that does so much in the draft and you watch so much film on these guys. I will give you the first crack at this, but I do believe that Caleb Williams, the USC quarterback, is going to be a bust.
Look, I understand some of the aspects of his game that might turn people away, and even some aspects of his personality that certainly turn people away. But I think that naturally, and I'm not trying to get super in the weeds on prospect analysis. I'm not going to do that on this show. I think that it has become difficult to separate the way that he has acted in certain scenarios and the way that the media and social media constantly overreacts to his actions. The perception of who he is as a person has diluted and has also negatively influenced our thoughts on him as a prospect. I also think that just because he has a couple off scenarios of the nail painting with the F teams putting fuck whoever they're playing on his nails, the crying, the sulking on the bench, those things aren't great. I understand that. But most people you talk to or who know him, I have a lot of individuals or somebody I know that was close to the Oklahoma football program. He is a great leader. He is a great young man. And I think that he has the physical tools that are impossible to come by. Impossible. He could throw from any platform. It doesn't matter where he is. He could throw completely across the field while he's off balance and leaning and just trying to find the next closest receiver. He needs refinement. He needs to be worked on. But the arm strength, the mobility, the athleticism is not something that we find often in NFL draft prospects. And he's landing in a perfect scenario that has a ton of draft picks and an opportunity to hit the ground running. Caleb Williams is going to be a good pro. And he might be one of the better first overall picks that we've seen in the past 10 years because of the situation that he's being handed.
All right. Here is the massive problem with everything that you just said.
Okay.
I could agree with you 1,000% on everything that you just said. And quite honestly, can I be honest? I do think from a physical aspect, you're not necessarily wrong. But everything that you just said has to come with a but. You can't overlook what he has done on and off the field. You can't. When you're talking about, you could do that if you're talking about receiver. You can do that if you're talking about DB, O-line, D-line. That's fine. He's not any of those things. He's a quarterback, a leader of men. And Joe, to be real with you, of all people you should know, go pop in that Notre Dame film. You know, we go after guys like, and we did this last night with J.J. McCarthy, but we do this like with Jayden Daniels. Well, Jayden Daniels had a very interesting game versus Florida State. How many interesting games does Caleb Williams get before we look at him like he did against Notre Dame last year? Joe, you know, and I know this is the truth. There were multiple games on the field last year where he tried to play me, be all about me. I'm going to improvise and make it look good for me. He plays me ball. Joe, when you're running air raid principles and you don't run the system, everything else around you collapses. I played in the system. Like the system that I played in college was an air raid system. And Hal Mummy, God bless his soul, okay, every time he watches Caleb Williams play, he's got to be throwing a remote at the TV. Because when you are running those type of principles and you play me ball, it doesn't benefit anybody. And it's why I believe that Miller Moss will have a lot. Actually, the team will have more success, maybe because Miller Moss runs through the system. He is a me person. Joe, I could look, this is just me. I don't want my quarterback on the cover of GQ wearing a dress. It's cool if Dennis Rodman does it. It's not cool when MJ does it. So you can't just overlook everything that he's done with the fingernails crying in the stands, some of the stuff that he was getting into it with the media, like because he was in LA and it's on the West Coast and it didn't go viral, or how do I want to say this? Casual football fans didn't see a lot of his media tour. And he says, this is about me. What do you like? I'll show up when I want to show up. You cannot be that way. And what's crazy about this is so many people got on the guys like Cam Newton for having some of those same type of qualities, but yet we don't go at Caleb Williams. Why is that?
Well, that was 10 years ago when Cam Newton was coming up in the NFL.
But
So that is a very different time.
Why are we comparing him to guys like Mahomes?
Because physically he plays similar to Mahomes. He plays like a point guard. Look, I understand the concerns that you're bringing up. And when he played like shit against Notre Dame and the times that he played bad against UCLA and other games is because he tried to be Michael Jordan. He tried to be LeBron. He tried to just say, I'm going to do all this. I'm going to make these crazy throws. And he constantly tries to find the home run. I get that. But in the NFL, he's going to have an offensive coordinator, a head coach, veteran receivers in their 30s and late 20s, and offensive linemen that have been around.
Do you think that he cares?
They're going to hold him accountable.
No,
They're
won't.
absolutely. Yes, they will. Yes, they will. My argument is him landing in Los Angeles and playing for Lincoln Riley was obviously good for him to win the Heisman, but Lincoln Riley clearly had no intention of holding him accountable on the field and anything that he did. He was in a situation that enabled him.
That's fair.
And I would argue for a young man who's in his early 20s, I think anyone in their early 20s, and I'm close enough to that to remember that I was a jackass and that I thought that I knew everything. And that the minute you step into a work environment, when somebody in their 50s who's your boss tells you to stop being a jackass, that resonates with you. And yeah, maybe he could continue to be a dick. And I don't disagree. If things don't work out, it's going to be because he is an asshole and he is difficult to work with. But I am optimistic because he's young that he is going to mature and he is going to be fine on and off the field. This isn't like Johnny Manziel, who's going and doing coke at bars and being effed up all night because he's a party animal. Caleb Williams, I think, is a little bit more of a...
No, but we've seen quarterbacks like Jay Cutler have all the tools and ability in the world.
That's fair.
And because of off the field issues, they are busts.
That's fair.
And I think Jay Cutler is a bust.
Like
I legit,
you had a mentality problem. That's the floor of this situation.
Right. So I'm just not with it. Joe, let me say this, the last thing that we got to say, because we gotta roll here. Joe, I was very expressive in some things that I said about him. Remember last offseason? Remember him liking our tweets and being that petty? It told me everything that I needed to know. And I never attacked the kid's character. I'm not really attacking his character. All I'm saying is you got to mature, as my grandma would say, mature. Okay? I'm just not there. I'm not there with him. I can't get there with him until he shows me that he can be more mature.
BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts.